I used to think heartbreak had a sound, not the cinematic kind, no violin swell, no dramatic thunder splitting the sky in half. Just a quiet click, like the soft latch of a door that will never open the same way again. That's what it felt like when I found out about Marcus. 2 years condensed into one text message that wasn't meant for me, and three dots that kept bubbling like they could possibly fix what he'd already broken. They didn't. I blocked his number, cried exactly once, and the next morning I put on my cream blazer, the one that makes me feel like I own the building, and walked into work determined to turn my life back into something I could measure, deadlines, metrics, deliverables, things that stay put when you put them in place. I am good at my job. That is not bravado. That's data. Our department runs on clean lines and straight answers and the willingness to be the bad guy when necessary. I've been the bad guy before. People thank you for saving the company money, but not for cutting their pet projects. I accepted that years ago, right around the time I learned to keep a spare pair of flats in my bottom drawer and a smile that doesn't give anything away. What I didn't have was extra room for someone's lies. Marcus cured me of that. Whatever hallway in me once led to softness was taped off with a bright yellow sign. Under repair, do not enter. So when HR sent an email about a new employee transferring into our building, I skimmed the bullet points like I always do. Name, background, prior role, start date, and kept my day moving. We were in the middle of rolling out a systems audit that had already made half the managers prickly. I didn't have time to babysit someone's onboarding feelings. Still, I noticed when the receptionist buzzed my line to say the new hire was here to sign paperwork. I noticed because the lobby went louder, the kind of louder that happens when someone laughs with their whole shoulders. Before I tell you what happened next, I just want to take a second to thank all my Hearties for being here with me. You're the reason I share these stories. Today's Hearty shout out goes to Justina of Wilmington. Thank you for being part of the Intuitive Hearts family. If you'd like a chance to hear your name in the next video, make sure you're subscribed and let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing where my Hearties are tuning in from all over the world. Now back to our story. I looked up when they reached my office door. He was tall, taller than anyone has a right to be in fluorescent lighting, at least 6 feet 3 inches. Caramel skin, low fade, that clean, sharp line at the edges like the barber cared about geometry, and eyes the exact shade of a long story, green with a stripe of hazel that made you think there was something interesting you'd have to stay a while to learn. He wore a slate button-down, rolled at the sleeves, and a watch that said he noticed time even if he pretended not to. He knocked on the open frame like he wasn't sure where the boundary was. "You must be the infamous new hire," I said. "Welcome to the jungle. I'm Eden." He smiled, and there was a tiny dimple at the left corner, small enough to hide, too stubborn to stay hidden.
I'm Adrian. I was told to find you because you're the person who actually knows how things work around here.
"That's one version," I said. "The other is that I'm the person who tells people when things don't." He laughed. The shoulders did it again. The receptionist had been right. He handed me his onboarding packet. I gave him my standard tour. Conference rooms, break room with the coffee that tastes like it remembers being beans once upon a time, the good copier that jams if you look at it wrong, the back staircase everyone uses to avoid hallway small talk. When we reached the open workspace, he slowed, taking in the framed prints on the far wall, blueprints of the city's oldest bridges, neat lines and stubborn steel.
I like bridges,
He said.
They're promises with architecture.
I decided, against my better judgment, that was a good line. Promises are only as good as the people who keep them, I said.
True.
He said, and looked at me like I'd said something he wanted to write down. Day one optimism. It's charming if you're in the mood. I was not. I had everything scheduled, even my grief. I'd given it 30 minutes in the shower and a long walk back from the parking garage. That was all it got. The rest of me belonged to color-coded calendars and security clearances and a rollout meeting at 3. He took the desk near the window, the one nobody kept for long because the afternoon sun turns it into a stove. He didn't complain, just dropped his bag, booted up the laptop, and started introducing himself to the team. I watched the way people warmed to him, how he listened without checking his phone, how he learned names and used them immediately like a magician pulling the right card. I told myself it meant nothing. That's what I tell myself about lots of things that later mean quite a lot. Our first clash happened 3 days in, over a spreadsheet. The irony is not lost on me that love stories sometimes begin with Excel. He slid into my office with the spreadsheet open on his laptop and said,
I think there's a better way to visualize the loss ratios across quarters. The trend line hides the outlier in quarter two.
I had built that spreadsheet. It was mine the way a cook claims a recipe. I'd named the columns like children. What's wrong with the trend line? I asked, too calm to be friendly.
It tells the truth,
He said,
just not the whole truth.
I could have said 1,000 things. I could have reminded him I've been here long enough to make the trend lines by muscle memory. I could have reminded him people often confuse additions with improvements. Instead, I said, show me. He did. He added a secondary axis, shaded the variance, and created a clear, ruthless picture that explained why 2 projects we loved needed to be rescoped. It was clean. It was elegant. It made the truth hurt less, even as it made it impossible to ignore. Fine, I said, and hated that it came out grudging. He grinned and rubbed the back of his neck like pride made him itch.
I'll take fine as a win.
Don't, I said. You'll get spoiled. We kept finding each other in small corners of the day, at the kettle waiting for water to realize it would never be coffee, at the printer rescuing documents from the bottom tray, in the elevator where time pretends to stop between floors. He irritated me in ways that asked me to pay attention. He'd lean on my doorframe and tell me I worked too late. I'd tell him he wore cologne that made email harder than it needed to be. He'd arch an eyebrow at my relentless planner and ask if I'd ever tried leaving a Saturday blank. I told him blank days invite intruders.
What kind?
He asked. The kind that ask for more than you're willing to give, I said, not looking at him when I said it. He didn't push. He had a way of hearing the part I didn't say, then filing it somewhere to reference later without using it as a weapon. That should have been my first warning, how rare that skill is. I mistook it for safety. Maybe it was for a time. I saw women in other departments noticing him. You could feel it, the way a room reconfigures itself around a person it hopes will look up. He looked up, but he didn't linger. He was friendly, not thirsty. It didn't help. People find hunger where they want it to be. I kept my gaze steady, my comments dry, my heart quiet as a closed library. When he asked if I wanted anything from the cafe downstairs, I said, surprise me, and watched the way his eyes brightened like I'd given him a small dare. He brought back a ginger pear tea I'd never tried and said,
For the woman who believes truth should sting, but not scar.
do I believe that? I asked.
You make a strong case for it.
He said. The tea was good. I didn't say thank you out loud. I let the steam be my answer. The week slid forward, all the tiny moving parts ticking in their hidden gears. Friday arrived wearing a soft grin. People exhaled in emails. Exclamation points multiplied like confetti. By 3, a message had made its way through the quiet grapevine. A few of us were going to Brevity, the dim little bar around the corner with warm lighting and bartenders who pretended to remember you. I had planned to catch up on budget notes and let everyone else debrief over watered-down whiskey. Plans shift. The audit sponsor swung by and said,
Come on out with us. You look like you need air that hasn't been recycled.
I almost declined. Then I caught sight of myself in the blacked-out monitor, shoulders higher than they should be, jaw tight from clenching for a month. I shut my laptop. Fine, I said, the word again, but different this time. I'll come for one drink. We spilled out onto the sidewalk in 2s and 3s, Friday looseness setting in. Adrian fell into step beside me like he'd been waiting for the space to open. He wore the same watch, the same rolled sleeves, something like a question in his smile.
You drink?
He asked. Do I look like a person who drinks? I countered.
You look like a person who could teach the class on restraint.
He said. Maybe I'm auditing, I said. He laughed.
Let me guess. Gin and tonic. No fruit.
Whiskey neat, I said. I like knowing what something is,
Good.
he said, like he'd learned something important.
I'll match you.
Brevity smelled like citrus peels and old stories. We found a corner of high tops where the music didn't drown conversation. The lights were low enough to soften everybody's edges. Our team filled the space with overlapping tales of office absurdity: the stubborn copier, the client who thought the cloud was an actual cloud. Someone put a quarter in the dusty jukebox and found a song that sounded like it belonged to the building. Glasses clinked. Laughter made everything easier. I told myself I was just there to observe. My body told the truth before my mind caught up. Shoulders down, jaw unclenched, a pulse at my wrist I hadn't listened to in weeks. When his hand brushed mine, reaching for the coaster, it was nothing. When it happened again, I knew it wasn't. He didn't hold it. He didn't apologize. He just looked at me and then away, like his eyes had a curfew. I felt that look all the way to my ribs. I told myself, do not make meaning where there is none. Then the bartender set down the second round, and I realized I'd already started. I thought I'd rebuilt my walls. I thought I was safe behind them. But sometimes, the very person you try hardest to keep out is the one who finds the smallest crack.